Hi, and welcome to BTS Podcast. I am your host, Lene Cook. BTS Podcast is all about behind the scenes. It is not about the K-pop band. I am sorry to disappoint you if that's why you're listening. I promise you, though, it's still interesting. I am exploring the behind the scenes of a variety of just different professions, career tracks, organizations, whatever it is that has struck my interest on the particular day. On this episode, I sat down with Chelsea Vonchaz, the founder of HappyPeriod, to talk to her about what it means to start and run a nonprofit organization. Music on Behind the Scenes podcast is provided by Benjamin Betharam. You can listen to more of Benjamin Betharam's music at soundcloud.com/Betharam. That is spelled Bethurum. I'm super glad to have his music on here. I love what he does. Please do check him out, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So I am here with Chelsea Vonchaz. Am I saying your name right?
Yes.
Great.
You're saying my name right.
I'm so happy.
Thanks for making sure.
Of course. Yeah, it's very important. We have known each other for several years now, probably 5-ish, 6-ish years, through a very close mutual friend to us both, Brittany, who is amazing.
Yes, she is. Shout out to Brittany.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany. I'm very grateful that you brought Chelsea into my life and the amazing work she does.
Same here, likewise. Because we hang out, we kick it. You know, like some friends get a little jealous when it's like, wait, I introduced y'all. But Brittany's not like that. She's like, oh, that's tight. Like, y'all hang out. You're like, okay, cool.
Which I really appreciate about her.
And it's genuine.
And I don't ever have to worry about that with her, which is nice. Like, it's not even a thought of, like, if she's going to be, because, I mean, for context, I've also known Brittany since, like, the first or second grade.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, you've known her way longer than me. I met Brittany in high school.
Okay.
Middle school or high school? High school. Because I went to Canyon.
Oh, that's first. Right. And then she went to Golden Valley, right?
Yeah, and then we met at Golden Valley, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so just to back up real quick, Chelsea is here today because she is awesome and has this really great nonprofit called HappyPeriod, or is it #HappyPeriod?
Either one, but I mean, HappyPeriod is
HappyPeriod.
Yes.
And I wanted her to come on and talk a bit about what it's like starting a nonprofit, and then also just some of the stuff that she runs into on the behind the scenes of running HappyPeriod, because it is, she's very much in the weeds of everything, and it's an interesting journey how she got there. I saw her speak at an event put on by an organization called Quilt just a few weeks ago, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me before that to bring her on the podcast. So we're here today to talk about HappyPeriod and what you do.
Noises.
That's okay, it happens.
This is why I need this practice.
Mic mindfulness.
Right.
So could you jump in and start kind of, like, I know you've told this story a million times of how you started HappyPeriod.
Yeah.
If you could...
All good.
Because I think it'd be helpful. Yeah. If you could talk about how you got started, and then really what I want to talk about is the nitty-gritty of getting it off the ground as a nonprofit.
Right. Sure. So I got the idea to start HappyPeriod when I was driving. I was a wardrobe stylist before, so that was my life, fashion, costuming in LA. So I was driving to a gig, and I'm in the car, got stopped at a stoplight, red light, at a major intersection in Hollywood, and I noticed this homeless girl, or homeless woman. She was going, she looked like she was about the same age as me. So I'm 25 or 26 at the time. Because this was just in 2015. So yeah, she crosses the street, and then right where she kind of gets in front of me and as she passes by, I noticed the period stain on the back of her butt. And that's something that I know, like, I can relate to, like, all of us can relate to, whether, and it's an accident, it's so, it's degrading, whether we are alone or not. But it was something that really just struck me like lightning because, just looking at her, she was mad exposed outside and, understanding like we're so desensitized to the homeless experience or houseless experience, especially living in major cities like LA. And, and I just could see like, oh, that could be me. And this is a relatable situation because, we get our periods and they just kind of like, it happens. And
house or no house. It's
right. It's just happening. But just imagining putting myself in that mindset, like, damn, like, where am I? Where would I go? What would I do? Who would I talk to? Who would I reach out to? And that's pretty much where the idea came from. So that came along with mad like questions and concerns and emotions, because I was pretty fired up about it, and to the point where I decided to do research and call shelters. And I talked to like I talked to one representative of this very this well-known, well-respected shelter in LA, because I reached out to a couple, but only one of them called me back or replied to my email. So when I finally got somebody on the phone, that's when they expressed like all these details. Pretty much because I just asked them like...
That's why I'm smiling right now, because also knowing Chelsea, there's no shortage of questions.
Yeah,
so I'm certain that person did not just relay all this information to you.
No,
and that you laid into them with question after question after question.
She went into detail, but I gave, I just wanted to know like, what do you do, or what resources do you have, and what kind of donations do you provide, and like, is there a protocol? Do they have to be in a program? Do y'all just like give out to anybody? So, and I'm pretty sure she was annoyed with me, but I didn't care. But the things that she told me, which I'm going to share, but it's like how she told me, and I'm really grateful that she told me these specific things in the way that she did, because I may not have reacted, and it just added more fuel to the fire. So she said, first of all, they're not required to have menstrual products in their budget, like by no means, by law, their bylaws, if they're federally funded or not, they're not required as a shelter, even if they house women or people who with periods, girls, teenagers, trans individuals, whatever. They are not required to allocate their budget by no means to get menstrual products, and they rely on donations. And they more than likely will hire someone, which they do, hire someone to call out or to ask for donations, and even then it'll just become like personal items.
It's pretty broad donations,
right? Absolutely. And then she said that as far as donations go from the public and even corporate private donations, when it's not money, if it is money, it goes to like, their bigger bills, their bigger expenses, utilities, and, staffing, and budgeting for whatever programs they have. And then, so as far as product donations or itemized donations, they are more than likely to get donations of toothbrushes, toothpaste, and even razor blades for the men to shave with, then pads and tampons. So that told me like, okay, well, nobody's even thinking about, providing pads and tampons,
right?
Because we're not talking about periods at all.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think it was my friend Jessica. Jessica Michelle Singleton, the comedian I was telling you about, who I think it was one of her stand-up sets where I really appreciated, because she brought something up I'd never thought about, is how people, like, men will always go like, oh, how dare you, like, bring up your period and stuff. But if you think about it, it's like 20% of our lives after puberty, like, we're on our period. Right? It's
yes. Exactly.
So it's a pretty big deal. And when I think about
in our lives, for sure.
Not that oral hygiene isn't and that it's not important for people to stay, like, you know, whether it's like shave, whether we're talking like underarms, legs, facial, like there's that dignity element that obviously I truly do believe everybody deserves.
Right.
But the fact that is percentage of like that is a guaranteed part of life, regardless of, right, like there's some people that don't really grow facial hair.
It's crazy.
Basically all women have a period.
Yeah. I mean, it's half of the human population, for sure. And then average age, we're menstruating from age 11, 12 until age 54, 55. Some women even later than that, and some women earlier than that, but I mean, you get it. It's a long ass time.
Yeah.
To have,
and it's a guaranteed part of life.
Yes. Yeah. Every woman, or every person that menstruates is different as far as their cycle goes.
Right. Of course. I just wanted to call out that this is not, because I think it's important for people listening to take a second and realize, like, just that it is a guaranteed part of half of the population's life. And so for that to be overlooked on where somebody might be relying for their other necessities like food, toothbrush, toothpaste, those types of things, like, I don't fault people for stealing it. I would steal that if I was in that situation.
And it's crazy because, I mean, that is also something that I learned in doing the work, is how they manage when they don't have access to it. So yeah, a lot of times they will go out and steal them, you know, and, you know, some of them are making decisions between like their diapers for their kid or a box of pads and tampons, and then, you know, getting real thugged out with it, using materials that they just for sure should not be using, like old rags and socks, clothing, like just layering up in clothes and like plastic bags, you know, just something to catch it. It's just, and I mean, it's just,
what are they supposed to do?
Right. Like, so it's a lot of extreme measures that I feel like nobody should take that. But
it's degrading.
Yeah, it is, because you also think about their mental health.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The dignity part. And I mean, just think about it, like anybody who's able to wash their ass, if you can't wash your ass, like thinking about how you feel knowing that you smell, or knowing like, oh, I need to take a shower, or I just feel bad. But if you physically feel awful and mentally, it's just going to go downhill from there.
Yeah.
And just having days, weeks, months of, you know, and then on top of that, like another layer to the problems that you already got. Yeah. Because you are living in your car, or sleeping in your car, or living on the street. Staying in a shelter, you know, working job to job and paycheck to paycheck, and you know, or on the run, like refugee, like it's so much that kind of goes into it that people don't think about, you know. Right. Yeah.
So then you got fired up.
Yeah, I got fired up pretty much, and got all that information, and I just shared it with a bunch of my girlfriends. I wrote on my girlfriends a long email, and I expressed like how I was feeling and what I was thinking, and I really wanted to do this, and I was like, I can't sleep, and it's really bugging me, and I would like y'all to help me, but I just want to share this, and I'm really passionate about it. And I'm still working though, you know, in fashion. So I emailed like a lot of my friends who are for sure like a bunch of creatives, and all of them work in different industries, but the majority of them work in some type of either the music industry or movie. And you know, me and my mother were talking about it, so we decided to create. In the beginning, it was a project though. So we decided to create HappyPeriod and make it initially like a project that we would work on to basically collect collect donations from our network and distribute those donations to people who live on the street and also to shelters that need them.
Right.
And then, so maybe like within 2 weeks of me seeing the woman crossing the street, like that was when Happy Period like pretty much got started as a project, and then got a bunch of, donations from my friends and, coworkers, colleagues, everybody. And I use social media pretty much to promote it outside of my circle and ask everybody to do the same. And we had the very first Happy Period event on February 8th, 2015. And that was like maybe the night before we decided to make kits and distribute the kits that way.
And what's in the kit?
The kit has pads, tampons, liners, wipes, soap, and underwear. And
all donated?
All donated. And we pretty much like just put everything in a bag for them to have. And the purpose of just having everything is because we don't know what each person likes.
Yeah.
And for me, my point with that is not to be like, oh, let's give them everything, but it was more so like, oh, I can get up and go wherever and get what I want based on like what I like.
Yeah.
But since we don't know what they like, let's try to give them a little bit of like the basics of what they, so they can pick from.
Yeah.
And of course, soap is never, we all love soap. And underwear for sure, because I just knew like that's just something they don't get a lot in donations as well. Underwear and pads, tampons, which are your main like basic period products. You pick and choose which one. Liners is a biggie because which most women use a liner like when she's coming off her period. And then wardrobe, we use liners a lot, like for when filming and whoever has on the client has on a swimsuit,
right,
a bikini, so that like protects that area. But when you're homeless, they actually use liners for a very similar reason, because a lot of times, where for the most part, they do not have clean underwear, or they're not able to clean their clothes. So the liner helps them with underwear.
On the pants.
Yeah, exactly. So if they have liners, then they can, continue to reuse their underwear until they get another pair, or they're able to wash them. And
that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, then that's something that someone on the street actually told me, that when they asked for liners, and she told me why liners are like much needed beyond their period days.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you distributed these products, and then I know from what I heard you say at the quilt event that it went really well. There were women after, like, when I think you came around the next time and you said that someone was like, oh, you just missed me, or like whatever it might be. Like, it was very much like somebody was like waiting on the delivery.
We decided to distribute kits, and we would go out in Skid Row, downtown LA, Skid Row, and literally just pass everything out. And what we did was we would kind of like walk the corners and just pass them out to the ladies. And the feedback was really amazing, because we were the first group from what everybody was saying, we were the very first group where we were passing out something so personal. It's something that they really, needed. And so they were like, yo, like my period just came. Nobody ever gives us this. We definitely need this. Can I have another bag, or can I have another kit? So that was pretty cool. And then, 2-3 months of doing that, it just grew and grew, and the feedback just never really changed, and to the point where someone actually like recognized me, or recognized another volunteer, and recognized the Happy Period bag, and was like, yeah, I really need this. I was looking forward to y'all because I knew you were going to be giving these away. And so in that person's mind, it's like, okay, I'm all right, because hopefully the group will be coming to pass this out. So I was like, now I know we can't stop. And it's crazy, because even then we were still giving it to shelters. So I was like, maybe what we gave to the shelter, they already passed out, or it just wasn't being distributed properly.
Right. Yeah. And so then I guess while we're on the subject of shelters, how do you work with shelters? Because I imagine anybody getting into the space of wanting to help people who are houseless, they want to know, like, I mean, my first question would be, how do I work with shelters? And, like, if I'm donating food, like, how do I find out what they want or need? And, like, if I'm bringing them these foods, how do I make sure whoever's working at the shelter knows what to do with them, right? If I think I'm being a good person by bringing all these fresh fruits and vegetables, but they don't have the capacity to cook or deal with it, right? Like, just really getting in there and finding out how to work with them.
Honestly, okay, so every shelter is fairly available online via Google search. You can even go to womenshelters.org, and that's literally a website with a full list of shelters.
And have you ever heard of 211? Okay, so do they provide similar information?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I figured.
And I think there's maybe a little bit better, well, not necessarily better, but updated quite more often.
Updated directory. They have like a pretty decent backbone of an organization.
Right. So every shelter, you get the phone number, you can do a Google search, you can get their address. So you can always reach out initially by phone and email if they don't have information on the website as far as like what a list of items that they need as far as for donations. These are your days to donate, all that stuff. I'm more of a hands-on, getting in your face, let me go see and meet somebody.
I'm not shocked by this.
I know you're not. But at the same time, I have to say, like, I have good relationships with the Union Rescue Mission in LA and the Midnight Mission, because when we were distributing outside, I would go into the shelter and I formed a relationship with people that worked there. I did, secondly, surprisingly, then I formed a relationship with the people that are in the corporate office or in the office Monday through Friday, because the people, when we distribute on the weekends, there's other folks that are there working in the offices, they're closed, or everybody that works, as far as the board and executive directors, they're not there on the weekends unless there's a special event, which is cool and cute. But it's the folks that work there that are really getting their hands dirty. The security, the supervisors that work with the clients, or
that are doing the work with
they're doing the work.
And seeing where there's holes and seeing where there's opportunity. So I recommend, if you really about it and you really want to get real results, I think it's more important that you actually physically go there so they can see that you're serious, or you do the work. Because a lot of the times when we were doing it, I didn't ask for permission. I didn't go in the office and say hey, is it okay if we pass these out? You know what I mean? Maybe my volunteers did that, which was nice for them to do. But a lot of times we just showed up and just started passing things out, and then so happily the guard would be there or a supervisor would be there. I'll get their card or I'll get their number, and and they see us all the time because we do it once a month. So you form a friendship and a relationship with the person, Right.
If you're lucky, because a lot of times they don't have the same folks working there. It's a revolving door, but sometimes, because one thing I found that they have a lot of shelters, especially in LA, which I think is really cool, is that they hire a lot of, former addicts, former, folks who have been incarcerated once in life, and they were living in the shelter, or they were in transition, and they got on the program and they needed a job, and the shelter gave them a job.
That is great.
So I think that's also something really amazing too, how they have a lot of, especially a lot of women who were incarcerated once, and they've been through that life, and they were once homeless or on the run or whatever, from just something bad that may have happened in their life, and they had to change, or something. And now they're doing amazing work, and they're still in it,
and they're giving other people who may be feeling like there's not hope for themselves, or not seeing what opportunities I think of, if I were an addict, right, I would be and then I get clean and do what? Right? Because it does feel like, even sometimes if I am ever thinking about changing my life or whatever, any kind of fresh start, as somebody who has all their basic needs met, I'm like, oh my God, and then what, right? Like, it's just the unknown. So I think it's absolutely great for those who are in recovery and, you know, have been through the program. It's also great for people who are in needing the shelter services to see that, like, there is a path and that there is help, you know, because if you don't see anybody like you, you don't know that that's an option for you.
Yeah, it really is, And I think that's just that's the key to a lot of it, because we meet a lot of folks who it's more of a chronic situation of them being houseless,
right,
or you know, addiction, and it's a lot, because, and also, you know, the homeless experience is just not this one lane, one tunnel thing.
There's a multitude of experiences across cities, people, experiences.
Right, absolutely. And even the people that we serve, I meet a lot of folks who live in their car. They are just houseless. They have jobs. Sometimes they have 2 full-times or 2 part-times, and, you know, or go to school at night and work all day and have kids, or, you know, or am just couch surfing, sleep in their cars, and they're not addicts. They're working, middle class folks, and you know something happened with the economy, or they got laid off. Like, a lot of outside situations people don't think about. That's why I tell people all the time, it's like, yo, you could be like a few minutes from being homeless.
I mean,
no shade.
When I see I don't know if any listeners have ever looked at this data, I'm sure I'm citing it incorrectly, but it is something like, I think within our demographic, there's only like 5% of people. Whoa. Sorry.
I didn't know that was going to do that.
There was a sound, and it sounded like like when you spin something and it stops, and I was like, what could be moving? It's just the two of us in this room.
I'm sorry. I didn't know the vibrate was off. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So, what was I saying? Oh, that so many people our age have so little savings and so much debt that if you think about it, like, most of us, if we don't have a strong support system in our family, right? Like, if our parents aren't in a position to bail us out, or we're too prideful to ask them, or whatever our situations may be, most of us are like one medical bill away, right? Like one medical bill away.
I know what you're talking about.
Like, if I were to, I think about it, like, if I were to not have parents that I could go like, hey, could I move in with you because I'm losing my apartment? Like, and luckily, I mean, I have really great friends, but if you were to remove those factors, and I were to...
Then it's like, what would you do?
Right, if I were to get fired tomorrow, which means I couldn't get unemployment, and then break a wrist, that's it. Like, even, and I'm somebody who, I'm a crazy person in comparison to most people. Like, I am not comfortable ever unless I have like 6 months of savings at all times, just in case of emergency, because... that's just how I was raised.
And that's real talk.
You know, you don't go out to eat. You don't do any of that. You, like, save money because, you know, you never know.
Make smart decisions. Yeah, but
what
you
twist
just never
of
know.
fate may happen. And so and I have several friends who they have jobs at agencies or are doing consulting work for like real, you know, sometimes even like Fortune 500 businesses, and their clients or their employer has no idea that they're actually living out of their car because they just got in that situation, or they live in a city where it's really expensive, or you know, they
and
have
you
a
have to
roommate
maintain and keep that job to get yourself out of that hole.
Absolutely. So it's not, I know it seems to a lot of people like, oh, that could never be me, or that could never be anybody I know.
What?
But
Please.
Yeah, I know, agreed. But I think when we talk about houseless people, there's a lot of unseen houseless people that aren't getting counted because of the framework that people have in their mind that, oh, that is only for people who are addicts or mentally unstable, and they've made a bunch of bad choices, which is how they ended up on the street. Which is not accurate.
It's not the case, especially, I mean, from doing the work and being able to have relationships with a lot of these folks that we help. I mean, I would say I've seen both sides to it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's opened my eyes to a sense where I've made mad, like, changes and decisions on my nonprofit. You know what I mean? Because I'm not at the point where we are, over 500,000 a year, or we're federally funded, and we have these really amazing, like a lineup of programs. But I'm really happy that I'm still under my 5-year mark, where I'm actually able, and it's mine, so I can make like certain, I can make these decisions to change it, or to just adapt a little bit based on
what kind of adaptations have you made based on what you've learned?
Oh man, like being more inclusive for one.
In terms of, because you mentioned earlier when you talked about like trans folks, and when you say houseless versus homeless,
because I know, like, I say women first just because like I identify as a woman, and I'm just so used to like this. I have this really tight circle of a lot of women around me, and it's just this really high female energy around me. So make no mistake, that's really why I say women first. And then I like to mention trans individuals, people with periods, people who menstruate, whether they say they're non-binary, queer, unicorn, live your life, whatever you identify as. But you have a period, and not every shelter is going to, be happy to take you or welcome you.
Well, especially if you're trans and you're in like a men's.
Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, yeah.
Then like I imagine that's such a tricky, and you still don't have the funds to go out and buy your own supplies.
Exactly.
But you're trans, but you just haven't gone through those surgeries.
Well, I'm thinking of so basically, like we were distributing one time during a volunteer event, and I got individual came up to me and basically told me that this shelter was giving them a hard time because they no longer verbally identify as a woman, and then they're always, but by their looks they're always confusing people, and it's bringing a lot of hostility with other guests or clients and staff. So they prefer if they go to an LGBTQIA based centered shelter or transition or access center, because of all of this that's going on with them. So it kind of makes it hard for them to get period products, and then they're also kind of outed from asking for it, especially if they're at if they're at a women's shelter or a men's shelter. So it's and then so that woke me up, and then and also woke me up to shelters too, because a lot of times they're not always right or doing the right work. Something else with a lot of the women saying, a lot of the folks saying about when they don't want to be at shelters because they feel like really just extremely vulnerable. Like they're already vulnerable, they're already out here on the streets, they're already living in their car, but when they're at a shelter, it's a horrible experience. So I meet a lot of folks who the ones that sleep in their car, they always say, nope, we don't do this shelter because we got attacked, or somebody, grabbed us, my shit got stolen, the bathrooms are co-ed, they don't separate, men and the women or whatever, so they fear being sexually assaulted. Yeah. Sometimes they are sexually assaulted. They wouldn't take my kids. I have a son. They wouldn't take my 14-year-old son. Wow. Like crazy stuff. So I'm like, we have to do something about this but it's also frustrating because it's like, well, what can I do besides curse out the superintendent at the shelter? Which is not
very productive.
Which is not gonna go anywhere. But I mean, sometimes it does, because not everybody else knows. Well,
because you're also somebody in a position of power in terms of like, you're not houseless, right? Like you're probably one of the few people who's talking back to them who's not houseless and is also doing similar work. So you have more of a peer like type of relationship where you can go in and say something like that, because a volunteer, they still technically report up to them, right? Like that's the organization.
Right, exactly. You do what you're told, as opposed to like me, or Happy Period. We have our own lane, and this is what we do, and we're coming into your lane to serve and to
support you, you guys want to support people doing the right thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want to be transparent on what can we do to help each other, and this is the problem. So like from that, I want to I've already planned like a new program to possibly provide showers, because showers is another issue that comes out from shelters too, because they're at capacity. It's super crowded. Access centers just not being able to make a lot of things happen all the time every day. So I'm thinking like we really want to. I'm thinking to be able to have a way where I can support both sides and add another solution to the problem for everybody. Like that would be awesome. So Happy Period in the future, it includes a mobile shower system.
That's awesome.
Where it's a mobile shower trailer or a bus with like full bathrooms, and so folks will be able to not only get personal care items, but they'll be able to take a shower and have a bathroom to themselves for at least 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
And we'll, pull up and support shelters and access centers for sure, because there's a few of those in LA County too. That they don't, of course, like house anyone, but they're able, to make sure folks get cleaned up and get a hot meal or get clothes and all that.
That's awesome. So you'd mentioned you're not federally funded.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about funding and how you get funding? I think the process of becoming a nonprofit is as you mentioned, rigorous. I also think that's something just so that we can make sure we're making good use of like your time and listeners' time. That's something that's fairly searchable. Yeah. Is that process? Are there any nuggets that you feel would be helpful for anyone who's trying to seek 501c3 status?
I mean, we can break it down a little bit because there's 501c3 status. If you know that's what you want to do, then you need to stick within that box. And I hate to use that word because I'm always like, people say think outside the box, but me, I'm more so okay. Get rid of the fucking box. Like, don't even think out, because you think outside of something, you still have that grid of something that's there.
Exists. Yeah.
No, get rid of the box. But however, with the 501c3, you definitely need to know your rights. I guess that's really more so what I mean. Because it's going to be a lot of things that go away for you because you're not for profit, and then there's a lot of things that you may gain because you are a nonprofit. Funding is for sure. It's an eternal challenge.
So how do you? So for somebody on the outside, right? Because this has become such a huge part of Chelsea's life that she does this full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, obviously, your organization needs funding.
Yeah.
You obviously also have bills, and if a nonprofit were to hire you, they would still pay you, right?
Exactly.
So, like, anybody who's listening to something and going like, oh, well, this person, whether it's Chelsea or somebody else or whatever, and you're going, oh, well, they started a nonprofit and they're getting paid for it. Yeah. Like, yes, because a nonprofit would also hire people.
Yeah.
Like, they make money. They're just not for profit.
Yeah.
And they need people to do the work, and if you want good people working, you should pay those people.
Absolutely.
So
that's like my main frustration though, because people feel like, oh, like you're such, you're so earthy and hippie and you're for the people, you're like Michael Jackson, we are the world, and I'm like, no, pay me. You have to pay me, you know what I mean?
Like nobody's taking her big heart for her rent.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I wish they would, child. Can you imagine? Like, oh my goodness, I have a mansion by now. No, for real, seriously. I mean, all the way down to the basics. Like, it's a business. You know what I mean? It is a business. I never thought of Happy Period as not being a business. Like, I'm always thinking of it as a business. I'm in the business of helping people. I'm also trying, like, indirectly, I'm in the poverty business or the poverty industry, because that's really what it is. That's like 80% of nonprofits, AIDS, government agencies. That's the industry that we're in, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, honestly. So funding, from grants to generating revenue, because people automatically think with nonprofits like, oh, you can get grants with small businesses and for-profits too. with nonprofits though, like money is just not going to, money can fall out of the sky. That's the cool thing about having a nonprofit. Money can actually just fall out of the sky. It's yours because you're a nonprofit. Whoever's giving it to you, that's a tax write-off for them, whether it's a foundation or a corporate donation or a personal donor.
Which, if you're listening, feel free to hop online.
Right.
Presumably there is a support section
yes
of the website where people can just go on and support.
Yeah, like with Happy Period, hashtag HappyPeriod.org. You can donate on our website. You can donate throughout our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It all supports the initiative. And every nonprofit organization pretty much just, that's the blood of the...
There's the ongoing support, right? But then you also, in terms, I imagine that on your end, applying for grants and funding takes a significant amount of time.
Oh, absolutely. That's the full-time job part, because until you can afford a grant writer, because people are like, oh, get a grant writer.
Yeah, easier said than done.
But it's like, I know nonprofits that actually went bankrupt because their grant writers was taking all their money, or they kept paying the grant writer to write the grant, but they wasn't getting successful grants.
And in your particular situation, even if somebody, I mean, obviously I imagine a volunteer grant writer, if they're really good, would be welcome.
Yeah.
But because it's such a tight and small and fresh organization, I also imagine as the founder, you want to be very close to those applications to make sure the message is concise and have a little bit of oversight there.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. And then it's like, I push to step outside of the writing grant, like, because a lot of the grants, like, you write them and it's super formal.
It's like applying for college.
And standard. Like
scholarship money.
Right.
It's a pain.
Absolutely. It's insane. So I'm always pushing for phone interviews. I'm always pushing for in-person meetings.
What do you mean by pushing? So, like, you'll apply and then you'll be like, how can we talk about this more?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. If they call me and they, most of the time they'll just send you a funky-ass email saying no thanks, or you didn't match, or whatever. They never send you something that will tell you exactly why you didn't get it. They'll just, if they're interested, somebody will more than likely will call you or email you, set up a call. And so that pretty much is just that's your interview process, And then a lot of times when I do interviews, and it's not me writing a grant, but I'm doing an interview, like, asking for money, but I'm not directly asking you, like, for money in a sense where it's my pitch.
Yeah.
Like, all of that. In my mind, it's an opportunity to get funding 24/7.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
every single social media post, every single, talk, like what I did at Quilt, just all my opportunities is just a time for me to, like, try to get money for my company.
Yeah,
I don't look at it no different than somebody trying to, raise capital for a startup, because that's really what I am.
Yeah.
They separate nonprofits and startups, but if you run your nonprofit that's under 5 years old, like a startup, I think you're okay.
And what's the 5-year mark? What does that mean?
Well, for me, when I look at 5 years, I'm going off of just, like, a few things that I read, like, in the beginning about how, I think it's like 3 out of 5 businesses, for-profit and nonprofit, fail within their first 3 years. And then, I think it's like in the first 5 years, then, like, another, like, half of that survive, half of that amount, they're gone by year 5. With nonprofits, most of them just dissolve. They dissolve within 10 years, meaning because, they just stop. Like, they don't file their paperwork again to be legit, or, for the work to continue.
Yeah.
So it just dissolves. And and that's like within 10 years. 5 years, they tend to just, lose their nonprofit status because they just, don't submit the paperwork out of the fact of, like, they just didn't make any money, or they didn't secure any funding, and therefore they're just not doing the work. But most people do tend to keep just a nonprofit, like, because you can keep a nonprofit just to status fine afloat without even making any money and just be like do it as a project. It's totally fine, you know. Just like with the business, you can have a business license and not really making any sales. You can just have a license there if you do, you know, a permit, a working permit to be able to just do business, just in case. Yeah, so that's with a nonprofit. It's the same thing. You can still have your status and not be doing shit. But that's not. I didn't go through that whole process to just have it as like, oh, this is cute, I have a charity. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, it's kind of like switched where they become famous or celebrities or well-known people, they get charities later, like when they can, you know, get started. But I have a charity first, and then I'm gonna do my other stuff later, but I'm still running this and thinking of this as a business. It's not separate for me, you know. And maybe someone out there, like, they disagree, or it's just that's not how they think of it. But for me, it's like, no. I mean, that's how my mind is wired.
Different folks.
Yeah, exactly. Different strokes, exactly.
So. Okay, that's super helpful.
Yeah.
And then, so right now, like, what is most of your, like, what do you say that you do with a lot of your time? Like, what are the things that you're juggling running this? And then also, where do you feel like you could use the most help? Like, what are some of the things that you're like, oh my God, if we only had enough funding, or oh my goodness, if we could just get this one part, like,
ooh, back up.
Things.
Ooh, back up.
Sorry,
we'll be here all night. All night. No, I feel you. So yeah, I'm really big into original content. So when I first started Happy Period, and like after we wrote the bylaws and we like, you know, started reaching out for getting grants and all of that, and I had to figure out like the branding and the marketing and all of that, I just always looked at my media first. So, you know, I kind of just, and I'm a creative, so that's, for me, that was not just the easiest part, but just the fun part, obviously.
And you as a creative person, when it's yours, you also want it to look good and sound right, and show up a specific way, because if you're going to have eyeballs on it, you want to make sure whatever you're putting out there is working hard for your
goal. Absolutely. And I think this is the reason why we got press before we got funding, because we're really social media heavy. And
your messaging is succinct and clear, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of nonprofits out there who are doing good work. Sometimes it doesn't have the kind of like heavy-hitting, like very clear, concise message, and also differentiator. Because there's so many. I mean, there's incredible nonprofits out there. I think like Starfish Impact, who's doing really great work, educating like women, and then also like supporting their culture and doing all of these things. However, that's like a more nuanced approach to go, like, we're taking a 360-degree approach to educating like women in rural communities in Guatemala, and then empowering them to teach and educate their own communities, so they have the financial, like, all of that is so much more. And people are like, well, why do I need to support these women in Guatemala? Like, you know what I mean? There's all that stuff in people's minds. But when you can go, hey, here's this thing you never thought of. Homeless women have periods too. What are they doing about it? You have that benefit of like kind of it's not a redundant message. You know, it's definitely a differentiator in terms of your goal. There's an actionable thing that is like, you can activate a community to go like, oh, here's what we can do to help you. Our money's not going to waste. Right? Because it's literally, your deliverable is just buying feminine hygiene products. Like, it's not a nuanced approach. You don't need to like build out an educational plan. You don't need to like I really feel for people who are like doing recovery programs and educational programs, because everybody has their own point of view of what success looks like whether you're taking there's too many options for people to get caught up in how you get to the goal versus your goal is,
and they kind of lose interest by that point.
Exactly. Like, I can bring you a box of tampons, and I know that those tampons will go to women who need tampons.
Whoever wants them, this is for you.
And I think about even like food banks. I'm always like, okay, but then bring them healthy food, and then how long is it in this food bank before it gets to people, and like how do we like do this in a positive way that we're not just giving people a bunch of starches and sugar.
Exactly. And you know what?
Yeah.
And that's when initially when deciding like our mission and everything, because we're two-pronged. So yeah, the first one thing is the activism, the volunteer aspect of it. So telling folks who have an interest that want to get involved, is like, you don't have to ask us for permission. I asked no one for permission to get started and to do it. So I want you to do the same thing. If you're interested, you go out, buy an extra box and donate it to your local shelter. Just take it to some people. Yeah, take it to someone. And it's still our initiative. You're doing the Happy Period initiative. You're carrying out the mission. Like, it's that simple for you. You can be, and that's what it means to be a Happy Period ambassador in general. So that I did not know. Oh, yeah. So it's like with the volunteer event coming out, we are doing this ambassador program, which is it's very simple as far as the first program that we kind of created out of going out to Skid Row every month. Because I started traveling and I would do volunteer events in other cities, and I would leave and pretty much do the same thing. We could have set one up in Seattle, and we could have done that here. We could still do that.
You leave in the morning.
Oh, well, I'll be back.
Okay. I'll be back. I am happy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in a group Artists for Progress here. I'm sure we could organize something.
Oh, for sure.
Effective and also very visually appealing.
Donation drives. I'm telling you, it's all about the work. Donation drives, collecting menstrual products, disposable and reusable products, connecting with a shelter or access center. You decide who you want to give it to. You could change it every month. Reaching out to schools, because there are some homeless families, students, and folks going to school and they're in a situation at home. Because it's not just houseless, it's also like just low income or displaced for whatever reason. And the other prong is, part of our mission is eliminating the stigma and reshaping the outlook of periods. And by that's why we're so social media heavy, because we're using content. You like my puns?
I do.
Heavy flow
of social media content.
Yes. Super, but no, seriously. So that's what I'm getting back to. In the beginning, that's what I was thinking of, to give folks attention and to make sure the message was clear and also relatable, and and just a reflection of me. To be honest, a clear reflection of me and who I am. That's why when I have my and sometimes I had an intern and another person who does social media kind of go through my Instagram account when I was like, oh my goodness, I can't do this Instagram. But I was like, do not talk to folks like we are robots or machines, right? Or it's a generic email. Do the captions, talk because if I do it, use emojis. Hey girl, hey boy, bye, whatever. How I normally talk. Be a human. How you normally talk to your girlfriends. Yeah. So that's for me it made the most sense. So trying to do what everybody else was doing, I was like, nah, I don't want to do that, because we don't do the same thing. Right. And that's super important for now when it comes to as far as the content, what I'm getting back to, creating original content, having these conversations, or encouraging people to really have conversations about their period. So that's why we do we post period art, and we post these kind of educational educational posts about certain topics around your period, and we talk about just different things that we usually wouldn't dare to talk about surrounding our period, from period sex, period poops, cramping,
you
period
don't
hats.
Really?
What?
I need to make sure. I'm gonna like engage a bunch with your content so it shows up in my feed more. And also just for listeners, the Instagram is We Are Happy Period. Is that correct?
We Are Happy Period on Instagram.
Which is literally the words We Are Happy Period.
Yes.
Like at We Are.
Yes.
Those exact words.
So it's like now, up until recently, now I run the account like almost like a personal account because I just can't, I don't think I can survive with multiple Instagram accounts or just social media accounts in general. Mm-hmm. So we use our social media, like we use each platform a little differently. But IG is like our number
yeah, well that's where people,
source.
That's where like people our age are.
Oh, for sure.
And it's absolutely.
And it's my favorite. It's my favorite.
It's accessible, it's easy, it's not as, it's you're doing the right thing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, because I'm like, it's a lot. Oh man, but it's working. It's worked so well, and that's how we've been able to build the audience and the followers. So media was always my first thing as far as the branding and the marketing aspect of it.
Which I do want to pause there because I think that for you it's perfect. However, what I would never want is for somebody who is not like creative and marketing savvy to then not do the work because they're like, oh, but I don't have my social media, or like do the work. Like with this, I mean, to be quite frank, with this podcast, typically 3 years ago I would have been like so precious and been like, I'm not releasing this until I have a website and like I would have been so uptight. And you know, after listening, I produced a podcast, which is why I started listening to podcasts, because I wanted to understand better different options of the format and ways that you could do different things. And in that, I've discovered a lot of really incredible podcasts. Totally. And in some of them that I've listened to with people I really respect, and Aisha Tyler probably has one of my favorite podcasts that I've listened to. It's incredible. And I think she stopped doing it, but I still paid the $50 or whatever on Libsyn to like get the app to get access to all of the episodes because it's that good. And she talks about it on her podcast sometimes, but then she was on the Tim Ferriss podcast where she also spoke about it, about just like being okay that like doing something is working towards doing like whatever your perfect ideal thing is, and that it doesn't all need to be perfect and buttoned up on your first go. And I know that's held me back from doing a lot of things I want out of life. It's going like, I'm not going to pursue, like, I think about even something as whatever and like as acting, right? Like, I'm not going to pursue acting until I'm like super stoked on how I look. Right. And then I was like, you're never, like, just do it. Who cares? You know? And, like, it's the same thing with this podcast. Like, I'm probably going to have this podcast. It's going to go live in the next few weeks. But, like, website-wise, I'm probably going to have it redirect to just, like, a Google Docs page. Or, like, something like, very simple that does not require heavy lifting on my end. Because people look up a website.
Just keep it you and just make it simple. You don't need to have all the strings and bells and
you don't need
whistles.
to hire a web designer. You don't need to hire a photographer.
But I think because Instagram for sure, social media gives us so much pressure for us to have just our shit together visually and like the whole fake it till you make it thing, and it's like, nah, that doesn't work for everybody, and you're gonna get exposed. It's not good for everybody. And it's not gonna feel good. It's not healthy. For me, in the beginning, it was so much to do to become a 501c3 paperwork wise, so making sure all of that was in order, making sure we did everything, we met our deadlines, and we paid for all the fees on time. And once we got that out the way, we were approved, and it's like, okay. But I tell people, like, to mention this for sure. At no point did we stop doing the work just because we were not a 501c3 yet. You can still help people without being a nonprofit. I still got donations. We still got letters. Nice people do. Yeah. Go help people. We were still doing the work. You know, I was still figuring out, like, what's the logo going to look like, and like, what are we going to add, chocolate, or like what am I gonna put on Twitter and whatever. Like, we were still figuring it out then.
So then how do you do your like business and forward planning? Like, how do you work that out? I know you've mentioned before that you have a mentor and you're looking to build out different mentors. How do you do your like planning of like, here's what I need to do like in the next month, here's what I need to do by end of year? Like, what does that look like for you? How do you map that out? Who do you work with on that?
Well, okay, I definitely have a to-do list and a to-be list of just things like right now, because I'm for sure a more in the moment person.
Yes.
And then, so any goals that I have for in the future, it's always about like, okay, let me write this down. Let me have this. Let me just do like a little cute ass guesstimate of 6 months or a year. I think this is what I would like. And yeah, like my mentor, because I've never really had an official mentor. I just talked to a woman with the SBA.
I mean, what is an official mentor? You know what I mean?
Like nobody has said, I want to take you under my wing and make you my muse or whatever and just like lay it off for you. You're going to spend like this amount of days with me and I'm going to always follow up with you. I don't have that.
Have to ask for that.
I would always like just hit her up, and because this was after I went to because I went to a class for business. I went to what class?
Well, you went to that small business thing.
Yeah, the SBA.
I think good for people to know, which the SBA is
the Small Business Administration,
which everybody has access to.
Yes, it's like government funded. It's a website, sba.org, I believe. And yeah, they have a small section for nonprofits. This woman I met who was an instructor, and she works in, I think her department is actually like, and she's an investor, if I'm not mistaken now, but at the time she was helping nonprofits and for-profits raise capital. So with the SBA, she pretty much worked as an instructor to give, she gave seminars on business plans. So I've already like been through college, and so but I was like, no, I'm gonna do this again with HappyPeriod because you're still doing a business plan for a nonprofit. So I went through that, and then her and I just kind of kept in touch, and I told her like, and I think she also kept in touch with me because I was the only one that had a nonprofit in mind, not a for-profit. And she was like, oh, I help nonprofits too. This is what you would do. And she was like, but all of this I'm telling you is online. She was like, now you're ready to like really like get down to how you can get to some really, folks with, bigger wallets, and you want to do your business credit, build your credit and all that, then, hit me up. And of course, like all of these are outside the SBA,
Right.
So she was not necessarily like a personal, mentor. And I haven't talked to her in a while, but that's someone I can like email and call her and just ask her a question, and she'll, answer it. And then she's definitely referred people to me and all that stuff. And she's for sure like, nominated me for grants and awards and stuff like that.
That's
so
amazing.
That's pretty, she's tight. She's pretty amazing. So I lost track of the other part of your question because I know I answered half of it. It's all good. No, I'm like, we figured it out. It's all good. We're going to get to this because this is good.
We talked about a lot of your day-to-day. We talked about your business planning.
Yeah.
I do want to call out that you mentioned your to-do and to-be list.
Oh, yeah,
I know what that means, but I think
do.
It's helpful for other people.
Yes, because being an entrepreneur can be lonely as fuck. And, extremely time consuming. I would say I'm pretty focused because I eliminated a lot of things in life to just stay focused. And and then I started a few things, like therapy being one of them. I started therapy I have a new life coach / therapist that I got in the beginning of when I first started HappyPeriod. So we do this. I have a to-do list and I have a to-be list. So to-do list, pretty simple, pretty standard. I write all the things that I have to do, and it can be a personal to-do list or a professional one. So I can break down like my professional one. So my professional one, like if it's double check expense budget, have a meeting with this ambassador, call this person, yada, yada. My to-be list is I'm writing down really how do I want to be when I'm handling this.
Like how do you show up?
Yeah.
Right.
What's my intention?
Yeah.
What am I going through emotionally? while I'm trying to handle this in this moment. Because
Can you give us some examples?
Oh, for sure.
Your favorite to-be's.
Oh, like for a happy period, and then if I did because I do personal and professional. So like my professional to-be list for happy period would be to be impactful, to be empowering, to be straightforward, to be effective. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Really big things, but at the same time, it's like that helped me as far as a focus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To some people, it's like...
And self-awareness.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it was. Like, that was the main purpose, like, with my life coach basically saying, like, just helping you be self-aware. Like, you know, checking yourself, like, wait. Because, of course, when you're CEO, when you're handling your business, it's all on you. And you have to, you know, work with different people. And it's like a lot of times... when things don't go your way or there's some conflict with other folks and, you know, your business is booming and you get busy, you're going to have to take moments where you're checking yourself like, wait, okay, am I doing something wrong? Am I fucking up here?
And how can I be better?
How can I be better?
And,
let me figure this out. You know what I mean? So that's the whole point of that. I recommend that to everybody because we're so into, like, if you're into journaling, for sure do that. We're always so caught up in like to-do lists. I write everything down. The biggest lie I tell myself is I'm gonna remember this.
I could.
I'm gonna remember
not
that.
identify with.
I'll remember. Nope, you're lying to yourself. So I write everything down. Like there's ideas, things I have up my sleeve for Happy Period and myself, like for future business that I just write it down. I know I'll get back to it later. You know. I just write it all down. Like, I have to, or my brain will explode. It really will.
I know the feeling.
It'll just really be bad.
Frustration when you know that at some point you had a good idea, and then you can't remember it.
I'm like, yo.
Oh my God. I have ripped, I cannot tell you how many times I have ripped apart my apartment looking for which notebook or which receipt did I write that thing down. I have to go back to, so I have my mail sent to like a UPS store basically. So it's basically like a P.O. box. And I went there one day, and I'm very terrible at checking my mail. And I went there one day to pick up my mail, and in it I noticed like my electric bill was out. And I was like, who opened up my stuff and went through my electric bill? Which I'm terrible about paying. I pay my electric bill like every 4 months. Like I just am like, I mean they never turn it off, so who cares?
Word.
And
I went live, by the way.
Oh God! Oh my God! You did?
Yes.
Chelsea, why would you not tell me?
I literally just did it, and I was like, "Oh wait, there's actually people
and
there."
And apparently, people have been watching. Oh, my hair! Wow, I've really been.
I love your haircut.
Well, I have a tendency to pull at it when I've been thinking a lot, and I think I was doing that before you got here, so I think it's a bit, you know, swervy right now.
You're fine.
But I was going through my mail, and I'm looking at it, and I'm wondering like, why did they open up my electric bill? And I realized it was not my electric bill. I had used my electric bill as my to-do list. And I was like, oh my God, thank goodness. I couldn't remember for the last week all these things on this list I needed to do, and I've been looking everywhere.
Yeah, that's
Mind you,
insane.
I still did not pay my electric bill.
Oh my God.
But at least I found my to-do list. So I think...
You're so busy. And your brain's just is scatterbrained.
And you get some of the best ideas when you don't have time to put those ideas in like a...
Yeah.
You know, like you get those really good ideas when you don't have time. I write myself emails, and I label them.
Too.
Like when I'm thinking of things to write for stand-up comedy, or when I think of a business thing. I literally write myself an email, and if it's a comedy thing, it starts with LOL, so I can search it in my email.
Yeah.
If it's a business thing, I just type in business strategy, idea, concept for money, so that I can literally search my email for any of those words before getting to it.
Yeah.
Because I think part of knowing thyself is knowing your weaknesses. Mine are remembering things and losing credit cards, so I keep like 7 credit cards scattered around every bag I own. Because I know I'm gonna.
Whatever you gotta do to make yourself better, to get stronger, to get through this.
So I think from there, let me think. We covered how you got started. We covered like your day to day, how you get funding, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Where you see yourself going. Is there anything that you feel like you
would go through all of this? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I guess so.
We're an effective people. We're being impactful right now.
Yes, absolutely.
So
and more opportunities come out of like for when it comes to funding. A lot of stuff has come to me just because of Happy Period. So like speaking engagements, that's another way that I make money.
Oh, you
and that's something I
didn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
good.
that's something that I didn't think about in the beginning at all.
You know, it genuinely did not really occur to me that people. I guess it didn't really occur to me that people who get paid to speak are often, or that people who are speaking are being paid to speak. I also didn't realize that and it makes me feel like a jerk that I'm not offering this to people, but I didn't realize that some podcast people pay their guests to be on their podcast.
Yeah.
Which, sorry.
I know, I get it, but yeah,
because you're not getting paid for this.
It's getting to that point where because they want certain people on it, and everybody's an influencer or which well-known something. I guess not really,
especially when it's like a company. It makes sense to me, you know, like when I look at like Dell has a podcast.
Yeah,
they should be paying.
I mean, you want to pay people for their time,
of course.
And if I
had budget, I would.
And I'm the same way. Like when we have to hire independent contractors to do things for Happy Period, I'm always about trying to make sure everybody, they make their money. And I'm the same way. I don't come if I'm not making money. I don't come outside. If Happy Period
thank you for joining us.
If there's I made my money earlier, so I was already outside.
Thank you for your donation to the behind the scenes BTS podcast.
I'm like, if there's really no benefit, like to be outside, if it's not a networking opportunity, and it's like, and I hate that word too, like networking opportunity. Oh my goodness, no.
It just makes me think of like those really terrible mixers that you go to where everyone needs a job. Yeah. You know, like you go and everybody's like,
poor.
What do you do? Desperately, please, somebody hire me.
Yeah. I don't know. If it's not fulfilling.
Yeah. If it's not mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not contributing and also receiving.
Yeah.
I don't see the point.
Yeah, then I'm like, I'm not going. Like we got to make better moves for the company.
Or make me laugh. You know,
come on, make me laugh.
Either educate me or make me laugh.
Feed me.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah,
good food. So then, what was I was thinking of something. I don't want to lose track. How can people? Because part of the reason, obviously, I'm having people on here is I also want to have people on here where listeners can think of how to. Like especially in your situation, right, where somebody's going, oh, that's so interesting. Like, how can we make sure that our company activity is supporting Happy Period? How can I personally get involved? I know you mentioned the ambassador program where you go out and like you support local shelters with feminine supplies. Presumably, also if you feel compelled to share a photo of that and do hashtag Happy Period or whatever helps support it. What else could people do who are listening to support what you do?
Even like company brand level, now we do these like Happy Period packing parties, volunteer opportunities or volunteer events at workspaces.
Awesome.
Workplaces, startups
I love to watch men squirm when they have to ooh, what a treat.
Yes, have the fellas packing the kits and and like educating them and answering questions. A lot of times they do have questions and they're like, damn, that's crazy. They're like, obviously I never thought about this, but I have a wife, I have a sister, but which is cool. I always laugh and because I love it because we're having a conversation and and they're talking about how they can talk to their sons or their daughters. So a lot more comes out of that than just packing the kids. But I for sure want to get more companies involved to do more activities around volunteering in the office space or just encouraging that.
I love that. Ooh, I might encourage this company to do that.
I mean, for sure, whatever you want to do, and then that also gives an opportunity if they want to donate or they want to, if the company wants to donate in a different way, whether it's a monetary donation, product donation, or have an event where it's centered around a marginalized group or whatever. Definitely get in touch with us because we do that now. We've done like private volunteer kind of packing parties at people's houses. You can get involved by just reaching out to us on social media, website.
I should make everyone do that for my birthday.
I've had a woman, she hit me up. She had everybody for her bridal shower everybody donated a box of tampons.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
oh my
they
God,
packed
that's
them.
so good.
Yeah, and they packed them up and donated them all to a shelter. Like, that's what she wants to do for her activity.
That's very
for
cool.
her bridal shower.
That is.
I thought that was cute.
I would take that over one of those terrible bridal,
like with the balloons and the cake and the tears,
or the baby
colors
shower.
then,
all of that. I can't handle it.
Yeah,
it's not my part.
I mean, it's for the gram. That's really all it's for, because it's not for the baby or for your husband.
No, it's certainly not that. Yeah.
I mean, whatever you want to do, but I think that's, it's cool to do that, like for your birthday or whatever it is.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, we have merch, so like our official t-shirt.
Please do look up their merch, because their merch is awesome. Stickers, shirts, totes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
is that right?
Pins.
Yes.
And it's for sure like Happy Period to the fullest. Our t-shirt is Hello, I'm Menstruating. It's like our number one selling item. The pins are pretty popular now too.
Yeah,
and all of it is, it's all to help with the mission, like,
which is so great. I love
start the conversation. Thank you.
So to end this is a question I'm asking every guest.
Okay.
So the theme of the podcast is behind the scenes, right? So it's all about like the work that goes on behind the scenes, the people behind the scenes, and like even down to, I'm having some guests on that talk about resourcing like raw materials, so like where aluminum comes from, and like how it gets from where we take it from to a format and things like that. So this is just to set you up for like kind of the options or whatever you want. What is like either an organization or like a product or whatever, like what is a final kind of product that you would like to see the behind the scenes of, whether that's a human, like whatever, anything, like what are you like, oh my God, how does that work, or where does it come from? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. And I've always been so curious about these things. I'm trying to think of one that I haven't seen on TV already, like, because there's definitely been moments where I didn't think about something, then I saw it on Vice, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. How that's made, or how that.
I love it that it's on Vice.
Yeah, I love Vice, yo. Vice, holler at me for sure. You never know who's listening.
Noted. Actually,
because they literally, they have really great content, but they have not had, I feel like they would dig me because I want something centered around periods. Like, I want my own like segment or show surrounding menstruation. Like, I want it to be partially educational and then like highlighting what's going on with toxic shock syndrome and new period products, like how they're made, and all the organic cotton, how that industry's coming up.
Which is
menstrual cups.
Fascinating,
Traveling to places where women, like, they have to go outside and sleep because they have their period or they can't go to school.
So biblical.
Yeah, like, it's so much that happens with them. I feel like Vice would handle that for sure. Anyway, damn. Okay, wait, describe it again? I'm really trying to, like, think.
Do you want some examples of things that I've written down for myself?
Yeah.
Like, I'm very interested. Actually, Pod Save the People did an episode on this about, like, where our police policies come from by city. I'm interested in, like, how propositions, especially from, like, a city level, how those get put on, like, a voter ballot and how they come to be. Because we see that end result. But then on the other side, like my friend Matt, he's a guest on the podcast also. He's a music supervisor. So like all of the work, like flashy, non-flashy, the thinking, the budgeting that goes in behind, he's a music supervisor for Broad City. So like everything he has to do his job. Karen Okonkwo was on from Tonal, which is, are you familiar with them? They do like stock photography that emphasizes diversity.
And it's called Tonal,
like Tonl.
Tonal, okay.
And she was like, oh, I want to see like the behind the scenes of Oprah, which I was like, oh, that's because obviously the hope is that then I'll use people's like what they wanted to see and then go, and I was like, oh, you want Oprah? That's kind of a tall order, but I guess we can. It's a great one for sure. I mean, like, what else did any of us do at 3 p.m. when we got home from school?
Can it be something from the past?
Sure. Don't say Ren and Stimpy. Or do. That would be a fun rabbit hole.
That would be.
I would
not really
love to find the pervy stoners of Ren and Stimpy and get them on the show.
Damn,
But like, don't make me struggle with someone who's dead.
Well,
or fine, do it's
because
it's okay.
I really can't think of, because I'm like, the stuff that interests me, I don't think I know everything about it or the behind the scenes of like every aspect of it. But it's like I'm not that interested or it kind of stops. But I tend to go down a rabbit hole of a lot of random shit.
I don't doubt it. I would love to see your YouTube watch history.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! I'm gonna look it up right after this.
We'll get into it.
I'm gonna find your profile.
It's so interesting.
See how many 9/11 conspiracy videos you've spent your time.
Yo,
how many fur industry videos you've got?
Nope, not even. But that's still though.
You know what I mean? But
when I'm interested, I tend to dig fairly deep, and then until I'm satisfied.
The way that you interviewed that woman managing the shelter.
Oh yeah.
With your questions, just
I annoyed the fuck out of her. She was probably like, "Girl, get off my phone."
She's getting paid the same, and if it wasn't you, she'd be annoyed with people. Some people are just gonna be annoyed.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I get it. My job comes with my career. What I do, like, is some things that I don't want to do, and I'm like annoyed by it. But okay, so like, because when you're describing this, I'm like, really, what do I have a curiosity about? Whereas like, I really want to know the behind the scenes of like what happened, even though I could have some type of idea, but really just like how did this person like deal?
This is a fun guessing game. Here I am thinking about. I'm looking at Chelsea has these really great nails on right now, and I'm looking at your nails like, wait, I should have somebody on to talk about color and how like the chemistry behind nail and paint, like car paint and stuff, and how that comes to life. So that
which is interesting because like I took color theory in college. Yes. So that's how it's
which is fascinating.
Which is but
like, the chemicals that make those, like I'm so interested in
I don't know about as far as the chemicals.
Okay,
like,
what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
So I think about it's fine. It's fine. So no, I always get asked like who inspires you or who's your idol or who motivates, like for the most part it's always like who's your inspirational like idol. And I'm like, I grew up, I never had one. Like my mom's the shit to me, but she's like God to me. Oh, so that's nice, different. Chelsea. Like both of my parents for sure is like y'all are God.
That's lovely.
It. However, it's like, so when I think idol, I'm not really thinking, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, but up until like being an adult, like since I'm, like high school, college, and figured out and just realized, I'm an entrepreneur, I've always been mad fascinated by Madam C.J. Walker, who is dead, but super fascinated because she was the first black female millionaire and the first black millionaire period in the late 1800s. Now, I was always like, how the fuck did she do that at that time? And her legacy is still like impactful today, even though she's gone and did not have. I think she had just one daughter, and a lot of family members left. Where she left a lot of as far as her legacy. So I'm always mentioning because people are like, I have to educate. Her bloodline, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I always have to mention like who she was or who she is and what she did. When it comes to, especially nowadays when I see like the wig industry is so big and hair extension industry is so big among hair care among African American women, and we're never really like giving the recognition of how we changed the game when it came to hair care and natural hair care. So that's who she was as far as like how she became a millionaire. But I've always been curious about like how did she actually like do it under the amount of stress that she possibly was under. You want me to find her therapist, great granddaughter, and be like, did your family ever talk about? I want to know because I'm always tripping over like what helps me with my anxiety, like running a business and just outside of the to-do list and the to-be list, is just remembering all the people that came before me and all the shit they had to deal with. So it's like, okay, I have nothing to complain about. Mm-hmm. And then another part of that is like thinking about all the things that I claim or I feel like I need in order to make this machine running.
Right.
She had none of that. She had no iPhone, no iPad, no Apple, nothing, no Wi-Fi,
no one was setting the precedent either for having all that.
No,
There wasn't the precedent set of meeting that, right? Like,
no.
Competitively,
no. It was just word of mouth, her network, her church members, her congregation, the neighborhood, the community, and I'm always tripping over like, oh my God, if I lost my computer, oh my God, if I didn't have this data, oh, if I didn't have this thumb drive, oh, if I lost my phone, oh my goodness, the stress, if my passwords all got like hacked into, oh, I would be under this, and then so much that we rely on because of technology. So yeah, see, rabbit hole. I'm always thinking about like, how did she do it? How did she do it? I found a book finally that I know I'm gonna order off of Amazon. That's supposedly, because she never wrote anything down as far as like, oh, this is my this
like
is my
memoir
life.
or something. Yeah.
It was always other people kind of telling her story. I think, but this book that I found, I heard about. Someone told me about. I guess there were certain notes and like things handed down to where they can break down like exactly what she did, because something that I took from what I do know about how she was able to get other women, like kind of Mary Kay style. Mm-hmm. You sell my products, you get a percentage, and you go throughout the community and you make money. So she actually like enlisted women as ambassadors for Madam C.J. Walker Beauty, and they sold products, they made a percentage, and they all kept it within like the community, and she was able to give them jobs and support them. And then came the factories, and she all started from making all these beauty products, which a lot of us get started at home with small home businesses. Yeah. But it's just, I'm just more so curious about just the spirituality aspect of it, and her mental, how that really like happened under that amount of stress in that time. So I know that's probably a weird one.
It's not
weird.
But
I can think of that. I really
that's
can think
like a
of
very
else.
Human, I think that's great.
I just, girl, how did you handle your mental health? That's all I want to know. You had no vibrator, no, like, you had no weed.
That was not
she probably didn't have
what
no
I
weed.
expected as your life.
Oh my goodness.
As how you deal with.
I'm telling you, I always think about all the things I think I need and what I, to survive in 2018 and have this business, but it's like, I don't know. So, I see, that's funny. I think of another one. I found, that's hilarious.
Will this be more attainable?
No.
But I think I will take that as a note, because I do think there is something to be said about somebody who, especially as a woman of color, is the first person in a specific position that requires dealing with people.
Like, how did you handle that pressure of having all that money at that time, and you're black? And people, and so, like, did people look at her like she was a fucking, like, alien? You know what I mean? Like, or did she have to take care of the whole hood? Like, was it like the lottery effect? Like, that's kind of what I want to know, like, on top of that, and like how she was able to deal with that. Because when you mentioned the girl saying like the behind the scenes of Oprah, I always think about how Oprah like says that she gives people a little bit of advice based on, advice about when you're the first person in your family to have money or to make money, and then folks who first get money, they blow it because they don't know what to do with it, and and she tends to give folks advice about just managing that part of it.
And to your point about handling money when you're the only person who looks the way that you do with money, I think about this a lot actually when it comes to celebrity in general. Yeah. When people, like, I look at what's been going on with Kanye, right? Mm-hmm. And I think about it, and I'm like, if you're in this position where you have so much money, the way that people treat you is absolutely, you have no idea if it's genuine. You have no idea. Like, so I almost wonder sometimes if there's if there's actually more similarity, like it comes full circle in what happens mentally to somebody when they are houseless and perceived as like crazy, right? And how people ignore them, and how that can impact your mental health when people ignore you all day long and won't make eye contact with you and won't give you like even just humanity. If the chemical reaction may not be that dissimilar from what it's like when everybody around you is for sure treating you differently because you're the most successful person that they know. You have the most to offer. And it makes me go like you hear about celebrities. I mean, I just know growing up all the time you'd hear about celebrities like, oh, they just go to the Dalai Lama for like, and you're like, yeah, but at that point, if you're that successful and that famous, right, like who else do you go to whose opinion you could really respect? Because somebody tells you something you don't want to hear, you could, you know, tell them like, well, like, you know, fuck off. Like it doesn't, like your opinion doesn't matter to me. So I think about when you're in that position, what that must do to somebody's mental health. To be going through normal people stuff, right? Like in Kanye's particular situation, losing his mother. And like just the stuff that we all go through of like losing people we love, heartbreak, whatever. And I'm not saying he's in the, I mean, by no means, I'm like, I still am like horrified by a lot of his behavior, the things that he's saying. You know, him, Jim Carrey, like I think about
But you're compassionate enough to where you're thinking about like...
I'm just thinking through what that must be like when you're like, you know everybody around you is treating you differently. You don't know what's real. You don't... And where do you go from there, right? Like what is your... and
I believe in past trauma. Most people don't fuck with that at all.
How could anybody not believe in that? It's not a...
But some people don't. Some people don't take it into account.
Like, I don't believe in this table because I just don't.
But some people don't take into account of like, okay, you dealing with your mama's trauma and your daddy's trauma and your grandmama's trauma and your great-grandmama's trauma. And so like, therefore, like people don't think about like, oh, post-traumatic slave syndrome and the type of trauma that like all of us through generations have been passed through, and we never got fucking therapy.
Layered on top of whatever, right? Like there's the post-traumatic slave trauma layered on top of whatever that next generation's facing, layered and layered and layered.
With no therapy, just a whole bunch of pray it away. You know what I mean? And that's really hard, which is so that's why I'm like spirit, the behind the scenes of the spirit of the mind, like how are you able to deal with that on top of the bullshit that society and the world is serving you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like that's just really interesting. And it's just, I don't know, I just really am interested in how people were able to, especially her, Madam C.J. Walker, able to get through that. I thought of the other one that I thought of was a little bit more personal. So I found out that one of my, and I'm laughing so hard.
You're grinning.
I'm laughing because when one of my family members told my cousin Kayla, when she told me this, I was like, damn, that makes sense. I was like, I'm so interested. I wish I could ask her. Well, we were looking up we were doing a family tree, and we were looking up a lot of stuff. We found out a lot of cool shit. So the coolest shit that they told me that we found out, on my father's side, my great grandma, her name's Daisy May. My granddad's amazing like mother, and I have a picture. I remember sitting on her lap too.
That's
so I have a picture of her. I met both of my great grandparents, both sides. So it was really cool. But I remember her, and I have pictures of her me sitting on her lap and like her holding me. But she ran a brothel back in the day, and I was like, girl, that's so tight. I was like, yo, and my cousin's like, that's weird. My uncle was like, that's so weird that you think that's tight.
That's amazing. How could that
I was like, yo, like she ran a whole house. That's fucking insane. But I was like, I'm so interested. How did she manage to do that? And in that time, like in from the 20s to the 50s.
Oh, so in like during the Prohibition, what better time to run a brothel?
And like in Alabama, and all the way up into like the late 50s.
Wow. So like a full career. This was not like that was 5 or 10 years. This was like...
No, that was her thing.
Like, she ran it, she retired.
Like, no, like boozing.
That's incredible.
Like, all of that. But that's the thing, like, we just know a little snippet of it. Like, we're just kind of... Still, it's just hard to... Because, you know... I can't remember ever, like, well, I couldn't imagine, like, fixing my mouth to ask her this if I was old enough to ask her. But now I would definitely ask because I want to know everything. Like, why did you make the decision? How did you get started in this business?
What does your husband think?
What does your husband think?
Especially in that age.
And we're still like,
church,
we're still trying to like figure it out because my granddad, I mean, all the men on that side of the family come from like a long history of being in the service, military, so Air Force,
built-in customers.
Yeah, for sure, probably. I don't know. It's crazy. So yeah, she did that, and I'm still trying to like figure out. I was like, oh, that's so crazy. I was like, she was an entrepreneur. Well, that makes sense where I get it from.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that I think is really just, I'm more into the history of people.
Yeah.
And how they were able to like deal and maintain and what led them to this decision. And
that is truly, I mean, part of my goal, if I had to distill down like goals for this podcast, is truly humanizing success and making people see that like, you know, their dreams and what they want out of life are achievable by humanizing people who are being successful in their field. And then also just like the human stories that go behind what we see as a final product, you know, because we get things like, I look at like even this microphone that we're recording on, right? Like there were decades of technology development that went into making like a smaller microphone like this. Yeah. Like where all of this actual hardware comes from, things like that. And like that is somebody's legacy, right? Like somebody's grandfather worked on whatever technology allowed this to be so condensed. Somebody else developed like a rounded mic head instead of a square one, and like there's all of this stuff that goes into everything that we do. And I think to respect people and to respect their trades and whatever that is, we need to be able to what's the word? Respect. I was going to say expect. Respect the output. And to make smart consumer choices, we need to be able to understand the stories of where things come from. Like, if people could understand, like, the impact that is made when you drive your same car for 10 years versus going, hey, I want to be more like, green and buy a Tesla. Like, that's actually not more green because you're encouraging the production of, like, this net new thing that needs to be made. Gotcha. So, like, I'm very interested in the human element of, like, humanizing success, humanizing like the labor that goes into what we receive as like, oh, that's so great that this exists to like provide tampons for women, but like that's somebody's blood, sweat, and tears going into making that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, just reminded me. I actually thought about like how all the women that like really had to go through the shit and with their bodies and their minds and sacrificing themselves to have fucking pap smears when pap smears were just kind of like coming into effect.
The experimentals, the beta
spatulas,
pap smears.
With like, because now the pap smear spatula things are like
it's hardly a spatula, it's more like a stir stick.
Yeah. So like the old school shit, like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Which I know like horrible stories about like all of the experiments on slaves and then women after that. With like for sure like all the medical representation was just all men. The whole medical industry was just all men handling that. So yeah, I'm always thinking about like all the bodies that had to go through a lot of things in order to be able to like get it right. Yeah. Or get us to this point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's astonishing.
Yeah, because I know I hate where it is now. I hate it. I don't like pap smears.
Oh, they don't bother me.
Yeah. Well, for sure, like
just
people.
Relax.
Yeah, I'm like relax. It doesn't bother you, but I'm still like, oh, I just don't.
Yeah, no. There's
want to do it. The whole process. I don't like in general. Like I just don't like. Like I feel like you need to spend some time with me and get to know me before you tell me to open my legs and put my legs on these damn stands. No.
I feel like time is money, and I'm not trying to spend more time with the gynecologist.
No, you should just be more special. I'm sorry.
With the gynecologist.
Yeah. Whoever it is, it shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm a gynecologist. No, you should be like a special motherfucker to be able to look at me this way.
It like, like how when I go to the store and know what I want, I'm like, no, I came here specifically for this item. I'm here to get it and leave. I don't need to wait in your cold waiting room for 10 minutes. We don't need to have a conversation. You already have my information. It's on the paperwork. You're here to take a sample and be done. Good day.
Man. No.
I'll teach their own.
I'm
sure your gynecologist likes you better because you want to chat, and I'm like, can we just speed through this process? I have plans.
I don't want to chat as much, but I think it's more so just the process,
the bedside manner,
the just me being comfortable and actually forming a relationship with you, like something long term, as opposed to just being so in and out.
Yeah, very transactional.
It's ridiculous. But that has a lot more to do with just the
now
whole
you're making me want to talk to a gynecologist
industry.
So that girl Jessica that I mentioned earlier, I couldn't remember what hers was when I was giving you examples, and I was hers was she wants me to interview a funeral home director, which I think will be fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And you just because I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I interviewed like people who run like a gynecologist office, right, and what kind of stuff, and like people who, especially because I'm pretty sure doctors, like lawyers, have to go through ongoing training. These people are probably listening eventually, will probably be very annoyed at this long, but too bad. Turn it off then. Go to the next episode. But
it's fine. Yeah, because I'm like, we're just vibing.
Because attorneys have to go through ongoing education.
Yes.
Presumably, fingers crossed, hopefully, doctors do too.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in people who have to do that education for doctors, right? On like the ongoing education. Is there ongoing education for bedside manner? I don't know. Somebody write and tell us.
I don't know at all. Ooh, I never thought of that.
Indeed. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you. This was insanely awesome, and I really appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Your time.
Yeah, this was fun.
Happily. When you're back in Seattle, let's organize something.
Yes.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening to BTS Podcast. If you like the sound of what Happy Period does, which I cannot imagine not liking what Happy Period does, the work they do is really incredible. It is super easy, as Chelsea mentioned, to get involved yourself. You can organize a Happy Period event and supply women in your area with the products that they need. I am always super interested to know what listeners are interested in hearing about. So if there's something specific that you'd like me to explore, or if you can help me dive into Chelsea's request, please do reach out and let me know. I would really love to make that happen. You can reach me via Twitter or Instagram at Lanae Cook. That's spelled Lynae Cook, Cook.